welcome to my March reading wrap-up and the reveal for the April reading challenge. Now, every book that I managed to read this month I basically gave 4 stars, so we'll get that out of the way right now. And the first book that I completed in March was Nettle and Bone by Kingfisher. This was a bit of a leftover from the previous challenge for Cozy Fantasy February. It was a short one, but I had just about started it and didn't quite manage to finish it until March. But it was one that I really wanted to read. It's quite renowned as one of Kingfisher's most well-known and most well-loved books, and I can see why. I did really enjoy the story and the characters. It's pretty much what Kingfisher does best, just creating these dark fairy tale type stories. A very enjoyable 4-star read. And this was actually the first of 2 Kingfisher books that I read this month, the second being Swordheart. Again, very much kind of leans into the cozy fantasy, but this is more of a romantasy. There is a sweet little romance in this, and a bit of a quest and a journey, and along with the romance, a tiny bit of spice, and it was actually just the right kind of level for me. I think I really enjoy it when there's just tons of it. I think I definitely prefer there being more fantasy than romance, but I like there to be that kind of character dynamic running through it. I don't mind that. Again, kind of what Kingfisher does best, creating her own kind of fantasy fairy tale. And this one is set in the same world of the Paladin's Grace, and I think the one that's actually come before this is the Clockwork Boys, which I haven't read anything else from this particular world, but I'm intrigued enough to carry on, and the sequel to this actually comes out later this year, so I will probably pick that up. I believe it might be a duology. I'm not sure if there's any more that's scheduled to come out, but I would at least like to read the next one and just see what happens to these characters. The next one I completed was another romantasy. I'm just kind of testing the waters with these. I've read some, enjoyed some, and not some others. It's not my immediate go-to for fantasy, but I do quite enjoy them, and just want to try a few out and see which ones I like, which ones I don't. I would like to continue the next one, which again is out later this year. When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker. It's a chunky one. I would probably say the only thing, there wasn't a huge amount of plot going on for the length of the book. I don't know if it was me just slowing down my reading towards the end and kind of losing track of everything, but there wasn't a massive conclusion of a story arc that was happening in this, but I am still intrigued to see where it goes in the next one. And the cover for that one looks equally as stunning. And now for the Middle-earth March monthly reading challenge books, represented here once again by The Hobbit. I am pleased to announce that I was able to listen to The Hobbit, The Fellowship of the Ring, The Two Towers, and The Return of the King on audiobook, narrated by Andy Serkis. And as expected, he did such a good job with the narration. All of the characters were so unique. They all had their own voices and their own accents. He was faithful to the characterizations in the movies. So all of the hobbits and everything all had the right accents, the ones that you were familiar with, that the actors portrayed in the films. I really do think that helped me enjoy the story so much more. I think I do have a slight bias towards it because I do love the movies so much, and I found it was just interesting to compare the original stories to the movies. I knew what was going to happen, and so I recognized a lot of what was going on, but also to see where the differences lied. There's obviously chapters involving characters like Tom Bombadil that they didn't include in the original movie trilogy. So it was interesting to listen to the whole tale and get a sense of what the original stories were like and actually just how the movies differed. Personally, most of the time I find that watching the movie or TV show first is more enjoyable because there's always more that you get from then reading the book. I find if I read it first and I know what's going to happen, I know what to expect, then you kind of notice the things that are missing more easily. And there's always things that they miss out in movies. It's just a different medium. They can't be 100% faithful to any story. It would just go on far too long and doesn't always translate in the same way. So I do find you often get so much more from the books, so reading that afterwards is just a different experience. But I did really, really enjoy my time listening to these audiobooks. And now for the April monthly reading challenge theme, which this time is going to be Author April. So for the entirety of the month, I am only going to be reading new to me authors. So this time this challenge is going to encompass the entire month. I'm not going to read anything outside of that theme will only be new to me authors, which actually isn't too much of a challenge because there are so many authors that I want to get into, and I want to read their books and see if they work for me. I have 5 here that I'd like to prioritize and can hopefully get through in the month. If I make it through any more, then that would be amazing, but I think if I can at least read 4 or 5 of these, that would be fantastic. Starting with The Book That Wouldn't Burn by Mark Lawrence. This is the first in his library trilogy. Let's read the synopsis and see what we're getting into. The boy has lived his whole life trapped within a book-choked chamber older than empires and larger than cities. The girl has spent hers in a tiny settlement out on the dust, where nightmares stalk and no one goes. The world has never even noticed them. That's about to change. Their stories spiral around each other, across worlds and time. This is a tale of truth and lies and hearts, and the blurring of one into another. A journey on which knowledge erodes certainty, and on which, though the pen may be mightier than the sword, blood will be spilled and cities burned. Well, that does sound quite good. All of these books I've chosen I've had on my radar for quite some time, and so I've prioritised these ones for now. It was quite difficult to decide which ones I actually wanted to read. There are so many authors that I want to try out that it was easy to have so much choice this month. But I can't read everything, so I need to pick some priorities. And this is one of them. Next, I have A Song of Legends Lost by M.H. Ayinde. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I have been intrigued by this one for a while. The cover is absolutely gorgeous, and the second one is due out in the next couple of months, so I figured it was a good time to dip my toes into this one, see if I like it, see if I want to continue with the series. Most of the books I've chosen here are actually the start of trilogies or series, so I'm probably just setting myself up for a long task ahead to finally complete all of these if I actually want to continue. The Nine Lands has been at war against the Greybloods for thousands of years. The Invoker clans, warriors of noble blood who summon their ancestors to fight with them in battle, are all that stand between the people and destruction. But the war has gone on too long. Soon a general draft is called by the Nine Lands' reckless king to take the battle to their enemies and defeat them once and for all, a plan that seemed doomed to fail. When Temi, a commoner from the slums, accidentally invokes a powerful spirit, she believes it could hold the key to ending the war. But not everything that can be invoked is an ancestor. Some of the spirits are more dangerous than anyone can imagine. They're all going to sound so good. My next challenge is, which one do I pick first? This is probably my only standalone book that I have this month, and it's on the shorter side as well, so this might be a good palette cleanser in between all of the fantasy series that I've chosen for myself. This is more of a horror book, Bat Eater, and Other Names for Cora, Zeng, by Kylie. I've heard so many good things about this book, and horror is one of those genres that I'd like to try to get into. I'm not sure if I'm ready for anything truly scary and horrifying, and something that's going to, stay with me and give me nightmares. But I would like to just test out the genre and see which types of books I might like. So I've opted for this one. Let's see what it says. Cora Zeng is a crime scene cleaner, washing away the remains of brutal murders and suicides in Chinatown. But none of that seems so terrible when she's already witnessed the most horrific thing possible: her sister Delilah being pushed in front of a train. Before fleeing the scene, the murderer shouted 2 words: Bat Eater. So the bloody messes don't really bother Cora. She's more bothered by the germs on the subway railing, the bare hands of a stranger, the hidden viruses in every corner, and the bite marks on her coffee table. Of course, ever since Delilah was killed in front of her, Cora can't be sure what's real and what's in her head. She pushes away all feelings and ignores the advice of her aunt to prepare for the Hungry Ghost Festival, when the gates of hell open. But she can't ignore the dread in her stomach as she keeps finding bat carcasses at crime scenes, or the scary fact that all her recent cleanups have been the bodies of East Asian women. As Cora will soon learn, you can't just ignore hungry ghosts. I do like the sound of a ghost story, so I really hope I enjoy this. The next book in a trilogy, The Art of Prophecy by Wesley Chu. Look how stunning that cover is. So many stories begin the same way, with the prophecy, a chosen one, and the inevitable quest to slay a villain, save the kingdom, and fulfill a grand destiny. But this is not that kind of story. It does begin with a prophecy. A child will rise to defeat the eternal Khan, a cruel, immortal god-king, and save the kingdom. But that prophecy did not anoint a hero, Jan, raised since birth in luxury and splendor, and celebrated before he was won a single battle. But that's when the story hits its first twist. The prophecy is wrong. What follows is a story more wondrous than any prophecy could foresee, and with many unexpected heroes. Taishi, an older woman who is the greatest grandmaster of magical martial arts in the kingdom, but who thought her adventuring days were all behind her. Sally, a straight-laced warrior who learns that the rules may no longer apply when the leader to whom she pledged her life is gone. And Kisame, a chaotic assassin who takes a little too much pleasure in the kill. And Jian himself, who has to find a way to become what he no longer believes he can be, a hero after all. I'm going to have such a hard time deciding what to read first. And my last choice for this month is The Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne. I have seen this book everywhere, and people talk about John Gwynne's books, his other series as well as this one. And I really, really need to start getting into them. I'm hopeful that his books are actually my kind of thing, and so that I can just devour everything that he's ever written. But we'll see. I will start with this and see how I go. I'm really hoping that I absolutely love it. When the gods fought, it was a battle so savage they destroyed themselves, leaving nothing but their bones and the broken land of Vigrid in their wake. Now, as whispers of war echo over the fjords and across the plains, fate follows in the footsteps of 3 warriors: a huntress on a perilous quest, a noblewoman pursuing battle fame, and a thrall seeking retribution among the mercenaries known as the Bloodsworn. All 3 will change the course of the world as it once more falls under the shadow of the gods. So excited about all of these. And if somehow I do manage to get through all of these massive opening books to trilogies, I do have some others that I can read. I think pretty much every single library book that I have checked out right now is from an author I've never read before. So any book that I have right now is fair game. And there's plenty I have in my own collection that have authors I haven't read before yet. And if I don't get to them this month, I really do want to get to them eventually. Hopefully some of them this year as well. So, April is your sign to go out there and read some authors that are new to you. Pick up something different that you've never read before. Someone that you've been intrigued by, dying to read, but haven't quite gotten around to it yet. Take this opportunity to change that and try something new. I hope you'll join me in reading some new to you authors. And we'll check back next month. Okay. Happy reading.